It's true. I mean, yeah, and RT's even been banned in certain countries. There's even, Alina Lip is a reporter who went to Donbass, and she's a young reporter. She interviewed some people in Donbass that were happy that the Russians were there because they were being bombed by their own government, by Kiev, and they were talking about it. Well, that report the Germans didn't like, and she had to flee. She had to flee. She's in now under the protection of Russia, but they shut down her parents' bank account, her bank account, and they threatened her with 7 years in prison for that reporting.
Yeah.
And so you see a lot of people really being more than suppressed. They're being attacked. Kit Clarenberg has been detained at times in Britain. They took all of his. They let him go, but they took all of his recording material and all of that, and detained him and questioned him.
Yeah,
and treated like criminals.
He's a great writer for The Gray Zone, and they detained him for, I think, 5 hours at the airport in London, where I think he's originally from.
Yes.
But one of the main questions he said was they kept asking him, have you been in connection to Russia? Has Russia told you to say? Did they leak files to you? And nothing they've done is in connection to Russia, but the interrogators were certain that he was some sort of Russian agent.
Yeah. And he's their own citizen. I mean, it's really. Have you ever seen anything like this in your lifetime, Lee? Because you've been an activist for a long time. Is it just me, or does it feel like it's like between Europe, the NATO countries, and America, that there's just an unbelievable amount of attacks on journalists and on citizen journalists, for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it's ramping up. I think we saw a brief window of kind of truly free exchange of information when the internet became fast and reliable and was in everybody's houses, starting maybe in 2006 or a little after. And then that resulted in, Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, the Bernie Sanders movement, WikiLeaks, all of these things. And they needed to shut it down. So then immediately after Bernie Sanders almost won the primary and won the nomination for president, but then they were able to rig it against him, barely. But the fact that he almost won terrified the ruling elite, and they have really shut down the free flow of information on the internet since that time, 2016. And it really does feel like the suppression and the censorship has ramped up in a very quick way. Now, that doesn't mean that there's no time in America's history where it's been like this before. Eugene Debs, who ran for president in prison because he dared speak against the U.S. war at that time in the early 1900s. And you even have comedians. Lenny Bruce was basically driven to his death, arrested at nearly every performance because he was speaking out against both the police and the church. And you have, of course, the endless persecution of the Black Panthers and people connected or working with the Black Panthers, people assassinated in their beds like Fred Hampton, and Mumia Abu-Jamal, who was a renowned journalist before he was framed and now is sitting in prison for decades. So the U.S. has a history of this, but I do feel that it is ramping up in a pretty terrible way.